So, should we do a retrospective
Like,
again?
I'm okay with it. It's fine.
I don't want it to be boring, but I think it might be kind of interesting to
We
do.
could do a retro.
We just do a couple things maybe that we can improve or whatever.
Yeah. All right. One thing that I think we can keep working on, and I got feedback this way, along these lines, was because we were talking a lot about visual stuff. Obviously, we have a video, but a lot of people don't get to listen or don't get to watch the video. So I would love to try and figure out ways that we can make it easier to see what we're talking about. And of course, in some ways, the website is that, and so you can see that on your mobile device. I also know that there are ways to temporarily change the album art for a podcast while it's running, which I think could be another cool way to do that. It would be small, but it's something, to have whatever we're talking about on the actual podcast app as the art for like that temporary amount of time while we're talking about it. I think that could be really cool. The podcast app I use actually just released an update where you can zoom in on the art, so that could actually be really valuable. I've used it a number of times when podcasts I listen to are talking about something visual.
Yeah.
So I think finding ways to make it easier to see what we're talking about without needing to watch the video would be useful.
I do think as part of that, remember to explain the visuals, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea as well. Like, as if people aren't able to see the visuals, talking through it a little bit is a good idea.
Yeah. That was just something I noticed when I was listening back to it. I was like, oh, sometimes we just totally forgot to explain.
Yeah.
Hey, this is really neat. I like
I
this design.
Yeah. That was going to be my feedback as well in general, that I think we need to make sure what we're talking about works well for audio, since we call this a podcast. Not everyone is actually watching the video. So.
Right.
Welcome to UX Files. We've got some news.
We're regressing like our.
We've
our
got
intro.
some news for you.
That was such an awkward intro.
All right. I think we should talk about the most recent news in video game console world, and that, of course, is the releases of the Xbox One Series X. Is that the right name?
We could have a whole conversation about the naming of Xboxes, but yeah, that is what it's called.
Is it an Xbox One S or Xbox One X or an Xbox Series X?
Or the Xbox 360, which was the Xbox 2. Yeah.
They have the worst naming conventions. Sorry, they don't have naming conventions.
No.
Other than the word Xbox.
And this is what the Series X looks like. It's
of the Xbox.
Yeah. It's literally a box this time. Like, it's just the box. Like, before they've at least had some, I don't know.
Hey, but at least it glows on the top.
Yeah.
Does it?
I think it glows green or something, or maybe it's white.
That's cool. Not that I ever look at it.
It feels very 2001 A Space Odyssey to me, like an obelisk.
Yeah. See that?
Or I don't know. It does feel very futuristic in a refined way. No, you can go.
I was just gonna say I agree, but I like it, and especially compared to its competition. I might be biased, but
Shall
I
we
think
show the competition?
I think it is nice. I think it is kind of awkward. Like how does like this may not fit in a lot of people's TV
Oh,
like
absolutely not.
Yeah.
But
which is weird, but
I do think it fits in entertainment systems better than this does.
there's a lot of people that like this, and it's possible that I'm just like
I
I'm sort
question
of an
their
Xbox
sanity.
fanboy, but I look at this and I'm like, this looks cartoonish. Like this looks like a cartoon version of like what the future of consoles would look like.
I've heard a couple of good comments saying things like, "This is what if you were a kid in the '90s, you imagined the future looked like."
Yes,
So
exactly.
I guess
Yeah,
it's wish fulfillment. That's what this is.
Yeah. I haven't looked at this much, so I haven't seen. This is probably my second time seeing this, and I haven't really looked at it. It's not bad. I mean, it's definitely different. So yeah, I don't know how to think. It does look futuristic-y. Very, very futuristic.
I'm
and
always a fan of like
stylized.
glowing lights, so I think the way that the blue is sort of glowing from behind that like band or whatever that black thing is there is cool. I don't mind the white and black aesthetic in general. I think the white can be really clean. Like Xbox has done that too. I think it's nice. It's just the weird shapes with the like ears sticking out of the front. And I've always felt like Xbox controllers were aesthetically better and more ergonomically better in pretty much every way than PlayStation controllers. This one looks like it's actually ergonomically to hold better than any of the past ones,
Yeah.
but it just looks weird to me. It doesn't look nice.
And to help all those listening, it's going to be very hard to explain the PS5. So this thing doesn't make any sense.
It looks like a spaceship.
Yeah,
of
it
some
doesn't make
sort,
any
something
sense,
from
but
the
they're
future.
trying it. I mean, have you like if you remember, like the original PlayStation was weird. The PS2 was just a box again, kinda, and everybody loved it. The PS3 was, or what did the PS3 look like? The PS3 was the original one was a weird. You couldn't stack anything on it because it had a curve to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like it's not out of the realm of the things they've done. But ergonomically, you can't put them on their side easily. The PS5 especially. Like, how often do you want your big game console to be out on top next to your TV? Because that's what they're forcing you to do. The Xbox doesn't look good on its side. I've seen pictures of it because but at least it will go on its side, I guess. I
like that they're both totally different looking. I guess that's a nice thing. You can really tell
great
the
for
different
parents.
brands.
It's great for parents because they can say, I want the really weird futuristic one. That's what they asked for. It's that thing. Oh no, they asked for the square garbage can. Like, it's
Now let me be fair to PlayStation, which I don't do very often, but I recently watched a video walkthrough of their UI for the PlayStation 5, and it actually looks much better than the old UI, in my opinion. It looks like really nice, actually, to the point where I was like, I had some, I'm not envy, but I had like an urge to just want it. I'm like that with a lot of UIs. When I see a cool UI, I'm like, oh, I need to get whatever that thing is. So I like props to them. Their hardware is super ugly, but their UI is actually looking pretty good.
Well, the whole push for this generation on the software side, I've heard the Xbox dashboard's pretty nice too, but
it's gotten better for sure.
But the whole push is instant on gaming, which from a usability perspective is amazing. Like that's why I loved my Switch, because when you turn on the Nintendo Switch, if you had slept it before, like I'd get back into the game like immediately. Like I remember growing up, it'd be like at least 3 to 5 minutes to get into your game sometimes with the loading screens and everything. And like that's what these consoles do, because they've realized like, oh wow, that's actually speed to doing your task is actually a big deal. And that's coming into this game, these consoles, which actually will save your state even if you reboot the console, which is pretty neat.
That is cool.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see what what the future of the next console generation is. Um, I hate when these things happen though, because then I'm like, I want to get the newest one, and I'm like, I don't need the newest one, but it's there. It's always hanging over my head. That
I
now
have
my
never bought a home console except for the Switch. It's the only one I've ever bought.
should man.
I play on the
Work
computer. Computer.
Yeah,
It's better.
that's the problem.
So I have
Yeah,
another
you
link.
want to cheat?
Last week we talked about iOS icons and stuff with Big Sur, but one thing we hadn't ever discussed was the ability that you can now customize your icons kind of hackily on iOS. And this was one that I found that, like, it's a retro style, but so it's less about that and more about like, what are your thoughts? And like, this is a very interesting thing that's happened where everybody is just going all out customizing their candy colored iOS.
I love
this.
that I do too. Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
No, you go. You got it.
I was just gonna say I love this. I don't like that it's such a hacky way of doing it. I wish there was a more streamlined, supported way of doing it. Like, in order to do what you're seeing here, it would take so much effort. And it's like, I don't even want to try it, because if I don't like it, or if I see another one that I like better in like a week, I'm gonna have to do it all over again. So I've just stayed away from it because of that.
Yep.
And it's frustrating because I want to customize. I think everyone wants to customize. The widgets are great, but something like this would be really cool.
Yeah, and for everyone listening, this specific app icon set looks like it's from Windows 3.1. Is that
no?
right?
This is very much Apple System 1.
Mac, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Way cooler than Windows.
That's very true. Very true.
Because I think these are pretty cool. I like
they are.
The style,
I like them. I think they're cool too.
Absolutely. I did one of these. I made one change to one of my icons, and I was like, I'm not. No, because then it launches shortcuts.
Yeah,
I can't. Like, I don't know how people would stand that. Every time you open an app, it launches shortcuts and then swaps to the app. Oh.
Because that's what all these are, right? These are just shortcuts.
They're shortcuts
that you can change the image icon for the shortcut, and that's what everyone's doing. So it's just opening the app by clicking on a shortcut that has a custom icon, and it has to open the shortcuts app first, right, to be able to get you to the app. It's pretty annoying. This still looks pretty cool.
But it's neat that they're allowing people to actually customize that.
Yeah.
I feel like that would never have been allowed before.
No. Yeah, it's not a very Apple thing, and I don't anticipate them making it easier either. Like, that doesn't seem like a very Apple thing.
They do support the ability for third-party developers to allow for for changing their icon. Have you seen that?
I have seen that. Cool. That's really cool. No, Instagram does it.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the app that I've been working on, we have like we're going to end up with like 10 different icon options. So to me, that's actually very surprising that that they allow that. But
I
they
think
do
because it's like controlled. And it's app by app, and it's not something that the user can just upload whatever they want.
That's one of my favorite things that apps do.
I love it.
In fact, I want to offer on the one that I'm working. I want to offer like a old System 1 style version.
That'd be cool.
Love it.
I actually have to submit one for work tomorrow. I have to save out all the files for the health.
Oh, you have an you guys launched a new app?
No, it's just Frontline's transitioning one of the companies we acquired into the Frontline brand as far as the visual side, and so the health one they're updating it all.
Oh, so they have an app. They had an app already that you're
yes
got it.
Yeah,
been there, done that. Looks great. So, do we want to hop into a meaty review?
Yeah, I love meaty reviews.
John, do you
want to
launch?
I do want to.
Okay.
One thing I see we have on here to talk about. What is this other website?
I'll bring it up. I was thinking about skipping it. Okay.
Well, I only say this because I want to say I don't like it.
Well, and I think most designers would agree with that. For one, I'm not certain what the like the visual style is, but for those of
Yeah.
you who are listening and are watching, because it's also not clear when you're watching, this is a site I found that has pre-made logo design like you get on Fiverr or something like that, except like they supposedly are like one-off. So if you buy this like tiger logo here for $250, then no one, it's not going to be out there in the wild, no pun intended, for somebody else to buy. So that concept is kind of like, oh, that's interesting, but
Yeah.
these
And
kind of services are just very funny to me.
I know designers who do this actually. There's a few that you guys would know that have done this,
Huh.
and they make logos and they'll sell them on the side.
Okay.
Which I think is fine, but I also think depending on the price, they're undercutting themselves, and it
Well,
doesn't
it's not
necessarily
like you
help
can
the
even get.
industry itself.
Yeah, well, it's not like you can even get a recurring royalty off of this business model,
Right.
because these are
No.
you sell this tiger once for $250. Yeah.
They probably just changed the color.
And I guarantee that a lot of these, especially the more intricate logos. So for those listening, some of these are more sport type logos where they have animals depicted and things. And those are going to take longer in general. A lot of these will take definitely longer than like there's one for $70 here. I guarantee that took longer than an hour to make. So
Yeah,
they need to charge more.
I agree. I agree that the pricing seems kind of low. Like they could have probably doubled or tripled easily the prices, because I think these are pretty good logos. What I like about it is that I think it's a cool idea, like to have like nice logos made, and just like there are designers that are just thinking like, all right, I'm going to put two letters together and make a logo for that, because somebody out there is going to want like M and W next to each other, and now there's a cool logo and they can just come buy it, and they're the only ones that will have it. I think that's pretty cool. I agree that it's underpriced. I think that's a problem, and that's a problem in a lot of economies, like mobile gaming and the 99-cent app that now people expect all apps to be that or less,
Or free. Yeah.
or free, like
or Fiverr.
it's an
Oh
issue.
gosh, like
Yeah.
So
But I do think like the concept is kind of cool to have these pre-made but one-time single-use quality icons.
I want to read
logos.
this thing that's on their homepage out loud though,
Instead of
because I'm not
making
sure if it. I want to see if it will make me understand it better. So,
It will not.
hello human. The year is 2020. You don't know it yet, but
Can
the
you
way
read this in a robot voice?
but the way you get quality design will change drastically starting today. I'm trying to decide if I should continue in that voice. I thought it was okay. No more waiting. And blah, blah, blah. And then my favorite phrase, let the design humans, that's like with a dash
Designers.
between it, do what they are so great at so you can focus on what you are great at. Welcome to the future. I don't understand this at all. Like, why is this the lead off marketing? Like, why is it not like anything else?
Yep. And I don't know
I'm
what the
mostly
name
con-
is. How do you say their brand name?
Yeah.
anyfn?
Any effing
Anyfn?
logo, maybe.
You can get any effing logo you want. Yeah.
They also do fonts, it looks like, and other
There's only
assets.
2 of those.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought this was at least an interesting conversation, and at most an interesting conversation. But
It is. I might make a suggestion to anyone that's a designer listening to this. Don't go through a service like this. Just sell your logos yourself. You don't need to go through a service like this. So,
but
because they're going to take a cut, and
this
there's no reason.
this fish logo.
It's a nice logo.
Yeah.
I'm most confused about that little intro paragraph about why some of the words don't have spacing in between the words. It looks intentional, but I can't tell. And it's
Like, why not download this?
oh yeah.
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 Why not download this?
Okay.
All right.
Anyways,
let's move on.
I had to bring it up because I saw it and
You were
I
like,
knew,
what
John,
is
you would hate
this?
this.
I hate it so much.
I hate it too, but you know.
I like it. I'll be the dissenting view.
You would.
This just did.
I wouldn't make a logo for it because I would want to charge more, but
Yeah.
I like it as an idea. Like, imagine if it were this, but it was
No,
like
I like it as an
high quality
idea.
logos and they were more expensive. Like it was more premium.
Oh yeah, no, I like
I
that
think it
idea.
would be a
I
different.
agree. I agree
Yeah.
with that.
That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. Is
I
like
guess.
the concept.
Mhm.
Yeah. Marketplaces like that are always inherently going to seek the lowest common denominator, though. And that's what's so hard about any sort of. Like, you saw this with. I mean, we already mentioned about the App Store. Like, people seek, because of the way we seek this lowest possible cost in a lot of
Well,
scenarios.
I agree
And
with that, but I think there's room for like a premium service.
there
And
is.
difference with the App Store is that the developer, the individual third-party developer, was like choosing the prices. Now it's probably a chicken or egg thing, right? But whereas with a service like that, like the service probably could dictate pricing or at least price ranges, um, and therefore like demand basically that it's a premium service and they're going to get less business, but obviously each sale is going to be a larger number. So
Yeah.
I feel like it could be a good thing and not like negative for design economies, but I do think it's too low, and that doesn't help the design
Yeah.
Are you
economy.
$250 though? Like, that's just so much for what
I charge for an
amounts
hour.
to like what amounts to like a couple of lines on a page.
I could put a W and a C together.
Yeah.
How hard is it?
Yeah, it's just like modern art.
Yes.
Anyone can do it.
Anyone can do it.
Yep.
All right.
I'm just
We
not
should
going to
move on.
start.
Transition music. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, speaking of music, that was the thing I was going to say as the sole smiley face
Oh,
in
yeah.
our retro was our music, our intro music.
I do like the music, yeah.
New, composed
We're
by
gonna do
one
a
of the
new
best
piece
composers
every
in all
week.
of the world. Oh,
And we also launched our social
Yep.
accounts.
And you guys
So go
posted a
follow
ton
us.
on stories, and I did none because I don't do that.
Instagram, Twitter,
I tagged you. Don't worry about
I
it.
saw. Yeah.
and of course our website. But
Yep.
let's move on to our review for the day. So this is a service that came out a few months ago, I believe. It is created by the same people who create Basecamp, and that is actually the name of their business. Basecamp used to be, I believe, 37 Signals, right?
Yeah.
So
and then they changed.
I didn't even know that. So this company.
Yeah,
part
this
of
is
that? Oh.
Basecamp. Yeah.
Very cool.
So they launched this. You should check it out on their website. They have a whole article or a handful of articles about just how they acquired the hey.com domain and like the story behind it, which is pretty interesting. But anyway, so this is an email service that is not just an email client where you would like use that client to view your Gmail or Yahoo or AOL.com accounts, but it is an actual service. So, they're hosting the email. It's everything you need. And their goal with it was to rethink email and rethink like how we use email and try to make email a better experience. So I used it for maybe like a week in the free trial, and ended up paying it. It's a yearly subscription. I think maybe eventually they'll have monthly subscriptions, but it's a yearly subscription. And so far it's been totally worth it. So I wanted to just talk about it from a UI and an experience standpoint, because I think it's really unique and really interesting. So I'll just go over, I guess, quickly some of the high points, like what makes it unique, and then we can go from there. So you see here this thing that looks very much like it's a typo. The inbox, one of the very few things that I'm not a huge fan of. because it feels like it's trying to be a little too cute. Um, I think they call it the inbox. Aside from like just trying to be different, they call it the inbox because they say that this is where the important emails should live. Emails like from your mom or dad or your best friends or whatever. Like these are where the important emails live. Oh, thank you, Tori.
Oh, is that what it's?
Um,
I never did read, but is that what it
yeah,
means?
yeah. They're
Okay.
saying because these are where like all of the other emails will go into the other buckets, which I'll get into in a
Huh.
second. So the the important box. I hope no one from Basecamp is watching this.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I mean,
that when you get a new email for the first time, you can see that screen 5 first time senders up in the top left there. If you click on that, basically any new email address that comes in, they show up in the screener first. So you can actually choose to not receive any emails from a certain address. So in this case, if you didn't want to get an email from ux.files@hey.com, you could say no, and you would never see emails from that address again. You could say yes to one, and that would deliver it automatically to your inbox. Or like what you saw Tori just do there, you could automatically sort it to always show in the feed or the paper trail. So the feed and the paper trail. If you want to click Tori on the feed, we can start there. These are basically just like think of it as like a Gmail label or a folder or something. It's essentially that, but the feed is meant to house like newsletters and things that you may want to read, but you don't necessarily care about like on a time, like on a timeline or anything. Like it's something that you may or may not get to at some point, but it doesn't really matter when. The paper trail are for things like, order confirmation, delivery notices, things that are more transactional. So the idea is as you get emails, they come into the screener, you sort them to go to either the inbox, the paper trail, or the feed. And then, and by default, notifications are turned off for all emails. So the idea is like, automatically sort things into the right place, and then only see the stuff that's really important, and then give me a good experience for viewing the things like in the paper trail and in the feed. So Tori, if you go back to the inbox and send something to
Can
the
you
feed.
are you saying inbox or
Inbox.
It's tough to tell
Inbox.
what you're saying.
it
Yeah.
is. For those
So
listening,
click
it's
on the avatar.
IMBOX.
Tori, click on the avatar in the list there.
This one?
So one thing I will say about this, I really like the UI. It's very opinionated, and there is some learning that has to be done. They have a pretty good onboarding flow that teaches you a lot of this stuff. So most people aren't coming into it cold like a viewer to this show might come into this. It's a nice onboarding experience. They give you a lot of information. It's easy to use. So if you send one to the feed, Tori, and then view one or two to the feed, and then view the feed. Another thing I like about this is that these keyboard shortcuts, so you can click 1, 2, or 3 to toggle between the inbox, the feed, and the paper trail. This little post-it note's kind of annoying, but are you able to get rid of that? Can you click next? Oh, go away.
Yeah.
Well, this is part of their onboarding.
This is part of their onboarding.
Yeah. And in a way, the first time you get on, it really,
you want that. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps.
So what I like about the feed is you can see here how like the emails are in this long list and they're open. I think if they're really long, there's some point where you have to click see more. But it's actually a really cool way to like browse things like newsletters and that sort of thing that, again, you don't want to not see necessarily, but you don't really care. You'll look at it while you're standing in line at the bank or something like that. And it's just a nice way to browse those things. The paper trail, on the other hand, shows a little differently. It shows more like a list of emails like the inbox does. One thing I like about the paper trail is that you can choose to have emails from an address bundle up. So for example, like receipts from Amazon, I can have bundle up so that they only take up one line. And every time a new one shows up, it gets put in the top of the list. And then I can open that bundle and view them all in one place. So there's a lot of these like little things that they're doing that actually make email more fun to use. And like, let's be honest, you can do a lot of this stuff with existing email services. You can set up filters and rules and things. But a lot of it just comes down to the UI, the automatic nature of a lot of this, the fact that they're purposefully by default trying to help with distractions and things, like not turning on notifications automatically. You can set to get notifications with any email that comes in. You can have notifications for just certain senders. So you can have control over that, but by default they're trying to make email less annoying and less frustrating. And so that's a way to do it. You can add labels to each of these emails as well. There's a lot of other like little neat tricks that you can do with Hey, but that's kind of the key stuff.
Yeah, I will say, so I tried it back, I don't know, number of months ago, and it didn't really stick for me, partially just because of the pay window. Not that I am opposed to them doing that, because I kind of like apps that make you commit. It helps me at least when I have to commit to an app. But the thing that I want every single other email app to do is the screening. First time senders, I think the way that they make this work, like it just pops up in the corner here. It says screen for first time senders. You click it, and like you can easily, like, instead of having to go manually create labels, it's really, this isn't that crazy of a concept. And it shows you what, like, thinking about something like email in a very like first principles way can come up with these things. Like, this isn't different functionally, but the way that you get there is so much different that I think, I want this in Gmail or whatever, and it wouldn't surprise me if they added that, because Gmail has a little bit of that kind of stuff built in, but it's not quite as streamlined as this. And I love being able to, just quickly click no, and you're never going to see that again, because I get stuff all the time, like then I've got to go unsubscribe to it or whatever. So to me, that is what I like about Hey more than anything else. I don't actually like everything else about it. Personally, I tend to stray away from these kind of, it's like Material-esque, but then it's even more lightweight than Material. And some of it's just a personal preference, but I actually, there's some things that I have a problem with, the way like things always feel kind of floaty in some of this, and like sometimes it's hard to see things, like some backgrounds disappear and stuff. Again, some of those are personal preference. I do actually like this menu. I think this menu is a pretty cool choice, where I'm not sure I've seen something like this where pretty much everything is kind of right here, and it gives you the shortcuts and yeah. So
the menu for everyone, if you want to explain the menu, what it looks
yeah,
like.
The menu has pretty much anything you can do in the app. It's almost like a quick access bar, like you'd get in Slack or something. It's kind of like that, because you can search. It says type to go to a person, place, or label. So it has search, but it also has all of the like typical navigation, like John was saying, inbox, the feed, paper trail, all in this one spot. And I actually think this is very successful. I think it keeps the app feeling very simple. I personally might pull back a little bit on that just for the way that I use applications, but I actually think it's a really cool way of doing things. I mean, if you've ever used Basecamp before, you can see some of the things that they do there, where there's some stuff that's only intuitive once you've kind of gotten into the flow. of how it works, and if you subscribe to how that works, then it works really well for you. But for me, sometimes it gets in the way of me being able to do some more power user type stuff. But that's, that's fine, I think, most of the time.
Yeah. I like Hey so far. I honestly signed up for it today, and the thing I was most impressed with was the onboarding feature, like John mentioned. It was really, really intuitive. They walk you through it very simply. The signing up was uber easy. They ask you to put your name in first, which I knew what they were trying to do. They're trying to figure out your email address. So you put your name in, and then if it's available, they just give you your name plus at hey.com.
I love that.
Yeah, it was super simple. And then you just go through, you put your password in, and then it walks you through the differences of Hey and what makes them unique. I love, like everything else said as well. The only thing I think I didn't necessarily love is what you hit on, Tori, is the super, I don't know the right word for it, but minimalistic um, depth they give it, I guess. Like you were saying, like it's not different enough as far as showing you what sections are new. It doesn't kind of block it off enough. I think if they just did some slight tweaks, for me personally, I think it would improve it. And that's things like, for the people listening, things like if you're looking at an email, just seeing where the top information is. So you see who it's from, but then you can't really see a difference of where the email actually starts. If it's if it's just a white email, no other background colors, they make it a little difficult to see where the email starts. And for me as a designer in marketing, it also, I think that annoys me a little bit, or it's just, it annoys me, but that affects what I'm doing when I'm designing a marketing email, because sometimes it might just be hard. It doesn't give the same feeling or visual to a recipient that you're going for.
Yeah, I could see that being a pretty big. I would be interested. I don't really have any marketing emails in here, but I would be interested to see how the way they render things like affects some of that. I like the conversation when it's a conversation. I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, that looks nice.
I'll save my next thing after you keep going. I have a couple other.
I was just going to touch on one email that I sent to myself, as far as you mentioned how it renders things out. It did make some of the links odd. Like it seemed to not render the HTML as well, which
not surprising.
Yeah, that's every email client renders them differently. So that's not that surprising. But that's all I was going to say on that.
So the other big issue that I have is, okay, so they talk about this built-in workflows with reply later, set aside, and like focus and reply, which I guess is like a, you could go through and reply to a bunch. So I have no problem with this in the sense that I think email needs to be improved. The problem I have is at the core of this, we have something called email. And something called email, all we do, and I've seen tens of apps that try to just tack stuff around this whole concept of this threaded thing that is almost impossible. It's like this, this ball of string that can just go anywhere, and like email to me is the worst method of communication I can have with somebody. I understand why email's there.
Maybe digital communication.
Well, but see, and this is what happened. Like, we've tried to replace it, and I'm not saying that there is anything we've come up with, because Slack has its issues. But like, for me, I'm not sure where email fits into my personal way of wanting to communicate, and the ways that it does, I don't usually like. And just having those kind of workflows doesn't help me. And so that's my problem with any email. This is outside the conversation of just this, is like, I hate getting emails in that format. I would much rather, if it's a collaboration, it needs to be a Google Doc. If it's a quick chat, it needs to be Slack. If it's a communication, it needs to be Slack. If it's a transactional email from a receipt, okay, I guess email's fine for that, because I don't really, there's no other method. But like, to me, it's like email is such a, like, a vague, like, what is it actually good for? It ends up being very hard for me to use effectively.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't use email a lot for personal communication either. It just isn't how it works out in my life. And like, even I think mostly for work, but even then, like, at my work, it's all Slack really. But I do think there is space in the digital communication sphere, for non-real-time communication, that is like, that is a digital version of sending physical mail. Like, it's a one-way street, and you can always send it back, but it's sort of like these, one-way, collection of one-way, movements, and that thing will sit there until you're ready to look at it. And once you've looked at it, you can go look at it again. Whereas in things like Slack or other tools, other types of applications, like, you don't necessarily have that. So all that to say, I'm not like the biggest email user in the world, but I do think there is value in it. And I think like the email, just email in general, is so vast and so ubiquitous and so like easy, not easy to use necessarily, but it's easy to get, it's free in many cases, like, it's not going away. And so I think like efforts to try and improve the experience and make it more automatic, and make the UI nicer and just feel easier and nicer to use, I think should be applauded. And Hey's not
I
the
agree.
first company to try and do that. There have been a number of them that have. It's just the first one for me that kind of checked at least most of the boxes. And I think it's a company that is, I love that they're charging for it, and I think the price is reasonable for what it is. I think it's a company that is, been around for a long time, so it's not some like flighty startup that could fold at any moment.
Yeah.
They are, trustworthy. They have a good track record of building quality, like, long-term products. And I think like they're working on versions of Hey um, that are made for like business use as well. So there's, from their perspective, both the, individual, B2C user like us, and business users, I think could benefit from what they're doing here. And they release pretty frequently. They try to innovate a lot, and there have already been like improvements and changes since the fairly recent time that I've had this. So to me, it's exciting.
So
Yeah, really.
one thing I will say is this reminds me of an even more stripped down version of when Google had Inbox, and I actually used, I don't know if you used Inbox at all.
Yeah.
I loved Inbox, and then they killed it, as they kill everything, because they
Right.
incorporated some of those features into Gmail. Like, I almost always have used installed clients. Like, I just use Mac Mail because I actually kind of like how
Hmm.
straightforward it is. And I've used a ton, but I've always ended up back at that. But I used Inbox, like the only web client I've ever used, because it actually had some similarities to this, where
It did.
it didn't have everything, and I think they've done some cool new stuff here. But like, basically that idea of like, what do you need to actually see?
Mm-hmm.
I think is one of the, like, that's one of the core things you have to answer in any design you're doing. Like, when I'm doing a design, like I'm doing some designs right now for a Zoom integration with our permitting software, and it's like, what do they need to see in every email they get?
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually the most important thing, and that's the problem you have to solve. And this is solving it for all of your emails at once, which is really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Um, but it's
I
some
love
of
that
it works
they're
pretty
thinking
well.
differently. Yeah, the fact that they're thinking differently is great.
Yeah, I don't think you should ever like totally bash somebody who is trying to take a concept, turn it on its head, and see what shakes out, right?
Yeah.
And they have a
Another
history
Um,
of doing that. They did that with project management and stuff too, and
Right.
some people love it.
mhm. My only hindrance is again something that you touched on, Tori, is I'm probably not going to pay for it. It doesn't bring enough value to
Yeah,
me
exactly.
to pay for it, even though it's a not that expensive. It's nothing
Yeah.
I need specifically, so I don't probably won't pay for it.
The new email address is also kind of a big deal breaker. So if it
Mhm.
wasn't clear when we talked about it, you have to create a hey.com email address. It's not an actual email client. It is a full email service because they want to, control the end to end. And I get that, but that is a little bit of a deal breaker for me because I'm not going to change my email address. That's why my parents are still on, they're just on some Comcast. My grandparents are on Net Zero for or Yahoo, like because
AOL.
changing an email address is a pain, and as much as that's kind of like a generational thing that I think of, like I don't want to do it either. Like I'm happy with Gmail. I'll probably use it until I'm 90 if they're still around. So like
But here's the thing, like I agree it's hard, but I just forward my Gmail
sure,
emails
but
to
I don't
Harry.
want to. Like I don't
I'm just
want
saying,
to.
like it's not that hard. Like I have been forwarding them since my Gmail since the beginning of me using this, and I have very slowly been transitioning my email like in like services and stuff to Hey, and it's completely fine. Like it works
What I'm
perfectly well
telling
for me.
you is that I have become an old person. That's what I'm telling you. And I
I'm
don't
glad you admit
I
it.
don't want to I don't want to do that. And I never understood that previously until I read into some stuff like this is like it doesn't matter to me if it's not that hard. I have other stuff that I care about. And so far this hasn't shown to me that I'm getting any value out of spending hours of my time transmit like doing
Yeah.
that. And I
Yeah,
don't I there
I'm with you.
it may be like this is just me, like the way my brain is working. It may be worth it, but that is a huge barrier in a lot of UX design that I think you have to get over for more than just early adopters. And I will be
Sure.
interested to see how they do that to break,
Mhm.
if they want to break mass market at all.
So
Yeah,
one
especially that you
thing,
have to pay for it
Mm-hmm.
because
yeah.
that's just another barrier
On the
to
plus
something.
side, they did let me do a second free trial because they deleted
Oh,
my first
nice.
email address. So I signed up again with the same email
Uh,
address.
Oh,
so
that's
Perfect.
that's
cool.
interesting. So they'll actually delete your old email.
Evidently.
Well,
Huh.
here's what I actually really I like that they delete it, because why would they keep it
Yeah,
around? But
that's I think
here's
that's
something
fine.
that I think is really cool, and one of the things that actually like got me to pay and hooked me in, and that is once you pay for 1 year, um, you keep that email address forever. So no one else can ever have my hey.com email address once I've paid for that year.
Mm.
So which is it's like if I stop
So you
paying,
can't
obviously
lose
I
it.
can't continue to use it, but you can't lose it. And that
That's
was one of the
nice.
things, like they didn't have to do that. They could have said like you keep it for a year, get all your stuff off, and we're gonna delete it and give it to somebody else. I love that they do that, and that shows that, to me, that is like the kind of thing that builds
I just
trust.
figured out why John likes this so much because he lost his preferred Gmail addressing and his preferred website addressing. And so now that he knows that can't happen here, he loves
No,
it.
I have
Oh, you
the
got it.
Gmail that I've
Okay.
always wanted, and I got johneckert.com back.
Oh, okay, good.
Wait,
um,
you lost your Gmail?
oh, this was like no, not my Gmail. I don't know what
Oh,
Tori's talking
okay.
about. I did lose johneckert.com for many
Oof.
years. I accidentally let it slip, and then some like company bought it up and was trying to charge a lot of money for it for a long time, but I got it back.
Nice.
But I really like the fact that they are willing to give you that forever after just a year, even if you cancel. To me, is a great move to build trust with the users, and I think it pays off in a lot of ways, because once I learned that, the barrier to entry to pay was much smaller, because I felt like, you know what, I could pay for it. If I don't want to do it next year, I don't have to. Like, I still have my Gmail. It would be more annoying to switch back and forth, which I probably wouldn't do. But if I wanted to, I could, and I still could switch back if I wanted to. Like, it's not a black and white situation, which I like.
Tori at hey.com is gone, by the way. John had recommended I go get that like way back, and I never did.
Was it available then?
I don't know. Maybe it was, but I kind of like Tori. I like my full name. It just feels more.
Somebody at base camp has the name John Jon, and has John at hey.com, and I was like,
shoot,
that's not fair.
So, who is ready for some Dribbble Roulette?
Let's do it.
Dribble me, Tori.
Don't. Okay, let's get this first one.
Oh,
that's cool.
Is that a real dinosaur?
It's also hard to show the name now at the same time as the shot.
Maybe in a future episode we should talk about these new Dribbble.com
for sure
updates, because the fact
it's
that
very questionable.
The fact that you can't see the whole shot in a browser. I did see that they're on Twitter that they are soon releasing updates that should fix some of this, but it's a pretty iffy decision.
And it honestly took me a while, not a while, but it took me, I don't know, a minute or so to find comments again, or how to comment.
Right.
It's called feedback.
You just scroll down. Yeah, it's called
they're
feedback.
not down here now. It's all this.
It's
stuff.
not down at the bottom, and you have to click the little speech bubble on the right side.
Yep.
But anyways, we're not here to talk about that now, I guess. But
yeah, I guess we shouldn't.
I mean, I'm happy to talk about it now, but
for time, we'll save it for future.
For time's sake, we'll just do some. We'll just talk about these.
So this is like a chicken T-Rex fuzzy.
Yeah, it looks like a lino cut.
It does. It's actually pretty cool. I really want to know if this is a real dinosaur.
Yeah,
like, do T-Rexes have
a T-Rex with
we don't know, do we?
We've
never seen a T-Rex in person alive.
I mean, have you seen Jurassic Park?
Well, that's true. They do have it all right.
Yeah,
it's real. I'm gonna start a conspiracy that Jurassic Park is a real place.
Any other comments on this one? I didn't really have a ton.
I wonder how he did it, if it was in Illustrator, or for some reason, after watching the Adobe Max today about the iPad Illustrator or their Adobe Fresco thing, this just reminds me of a lot of the style that they were showing, at least. So I just wonder if it was any hand done at all, like stylus or something. But it's cool. Well done. Like the way the bubbles in the background are, just that's why I think it reminded me of that too.
That hand drawn that part or something, yeah.
Maybe.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go to the next one. This one's also very hard. Oh, actually it's not that hard to see.
Oh. Ooh.
I'm assuming this is kind of more just like an explanation, like an exploration of.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
For those listening, it's a animation on a iPhone. Looks like an app, sort of. Like you pull down, and then a animation comes down with it as you swipe down.
And there's like a planets. There's a mixtape. And there's a rocket launch, and it's pretty cool. Yeah. I do think I like this. This first one looks very Kurzgesagt to me. Like if you've watched the YouTube channel Kurzgesagt, if you haven't, that's my recommendation for the week. Go watch them. That looks very much like the first one looks very much like their illustration style and smooth. This last one looks like it could. I don't love the last one quite as much because of the
different.
The lines. Right. I think maybe they're not quite the same style, which is fine. But
the last one, are you talking about the
rocket ship?
Rocket. Yeah.
The middle one is obviously a totally different style, but I feel like the last one could be more consistent if that was the intention, but it might not be. It doesn't
one
feel
that
as smooth or something.
Yeah.
Get that.
I think this is really cool. I love the idea. The one thing I wish that they would do if this were in a real app, I don't like how it takes up so much vertical space. Like I think it would be cool if you pull it down to kind of reveal everything, and then like at some point it it clicks and the animation starts. But this part that we're watching, where it's like after you've completed the pull to refresh and it's doing the loading animation, I wish it was shorter. Like I wish it would kind of shrink back and have a shorter sort of end state animation for the animation. That might break some of these, like the tape that takes up the entire space.
Yeah.
But it bothers me that they're so tall, and they're there for so long.
I do think this
But
one
in
would
general, I
be
think it's
very
cool.
hard to implement something really cool like this in an app, just because of the nature of loading times, and sometimes they're really nothing on these pull to
Right.
refreshes. But it makes me want to try something like this, like something with I've seen a couple cool ones, but like I don't know, it seems like something I'd like to try in the future.
I think the
Yeah,
tape
it's a
one
cool
would work the
concept.
best because it's like
Yeah.
simple, and the little spinning
It's much
Mhm.
different.
gears, whatever's inside is like that could be as long or as short as you need it to be, and it still works. The other ones are like full animations
Yep.
that, like in many cases, it's just going to disappear before the rocket launches.
Yeah. It's just
really,
gonna
and
snap back and
yeah, it's
there's
gonna
your
be like,
data.
what happened?
Yep.
Yeah.
And what would be even worse is if they forced you to watch the animation.
That would be bad.
Yeah, you can't get your loaded. You can't see the loaded
Aw.
until that happens. Okay, here's the next one.
Oh, this is great. I love it.
Cute. I
Super
like this a
fun.
lot.
I wish
It
I
is.
could illustrate so much, because this would be so fun to do.
There's something
It's
weird.
a panda. It's a cute panda bear that's
Skipping.
skipping and listening to headphones. And there's little music symbols around the panda. It
But
just
the
looks
headphones are on
happy.
like its cheeks.
Yep.
Not on its ears. No,
I will say there's something weird with the legs, but I don't know what I would do if I would even do anything to change that. But
I was gonna say actually the one thing that I could be critical, other than my joke about the headphones not being on the ears, but I don't think that's a real problem. The so there's this really nice like 3D effect being done with like this solid shading and highlighting at the top. It looks really good. It's done really well, but it's not done on the like nose area.
yeah,
There's a very thin line at the bottom, but what it looks like is a very thin like sheet that's just like
Yeah. Like a
hovering
slight
slightly
drop
above.
shadow or something.
Yeah.
It's like too flat. Like everything else
Yeah.
has this nice like glossy 3D feel, and that's like really flat with just a drop shadow. And
It almost looks
that
like a paper cut
question that exactly, yeah.
illustration. Yeah. Just that one part.
yeah.
And that would have been an easy one to add that 3D like
Just the
shadow and
same
highlight
thing.
effect to.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it wasn't. But
There's
hey,
other
maybe it is.
ones. There's bonus.
Oh,
This
man,
one is
look
a bonus, and they're all really fun. So I'll just go through. There's a fox playing a flute.
See, the fox doesn't have the
See, this is
same-
the note. This is the way I
Yeah.
was expecting the nose.
Yeah.
Maybe the panda
looks
did have that, it was just too light to see or something. I don't know. Can you zoom in at all? It doesn't matter. We don't have to.
It didn't have that from my screen.
Yeah, it did.
There's a
See here, the nostrils on this one have that slight
Drop
little
shadow.
Oh
shadow.
yeah, you're right. They could have done an inner shadow inside to like
Yeah, that's
make
probably
it
what.
not feel so papery.
Yeah,
music.
but they're really cool. They
And
look
they're
really
all
good.
playing
Really nice.
instruments, by the way.
This is so fun.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought these were. Oh, this guy's not playing an
Aw.
instrument. That's different.
He's eating a sunflower seed.
This is a
Girls
chubby
would, I love all
hamster.
these.
This is so cute. Who did this? I want to follow them on Dribbble.
Catalyst
Oh, Catalyst.
vibes from Jakarta, Indonesia.
Cool.
Oh, by the way, did we
I think the colors on all these are really fun.
Yeah, they're really good. Did we message the Dribbble people we've reviewed?
I think I was supposed to, and I did not. So I will do that
That's
tomorrow.
okay. That's all right. I was just curious.
No, I'll do it tomorrow.
So are we gonna quickly share design
should.
resources, like just like a real quick talk of each, and then we post them? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we thought about having this new segment that we're going to try to do every episode, which is just, we don't have a name for it yet. We're still working on that. Maybe it doesn't need a name, but basically we're just going to share design related like resources, social accounts, tools, podcasts, books, documentaries, things like that, movies, whatever, that we are interested in or that like have meant something to us recently. So we're gonna try and do that at the end of every episode, along with Dribbble Roulette, and see how that goes. So, Tori, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah. Just one that I had found that I thought was kind of interesting, and I haven't watched them all yet, but basically, they're pretty short too, which was actually kind of nice because I was like, "There's no way I have time," but they're all like under 5 minutes that I've watched so far, and just talking about, like it says, getting unstuck in the design process, and it's a lot of like physical product design, which I also find fascinating. I love reading about architecture and products and stuff rather than just digital. So that's kind of my big recommendation this week. There was a cool article about how to become a design mentor, and then when I shared that, somebody at work also shared a podcast episode about how to find one. So I found those really interesting. Just like I think as a professional development side of things, like learning how to, whether it's long-term mentorship or just short-term, is a really important thing. And then the finding one, I've had a number of like fairly strong mentors in my life, and they've all been very helpful in like just deciding what to do sometimes. So those
Tori,
were.
you just had to ask me, man. I would have done it.
You would have? Okay. I should have asked. Yeah.
And you would, and you could call me your big brother, not your mentor.
Yeah.
So
How nice.
be your big brother. My man. Always happy to do it.
I have this one for John. This is your
Yes.
recommendation.
By the way, we will share the links to all of these things in the show notes and on the website, uxfilesshow.com.
You know this thing's for real because they have a manifesto.
Yes. So this is mymind.com. This was created by, I don't know if the co-creators, but the guy who was also like a lead designer or something at Spotify for a while. He works on Simplis, which is a WordPress template for designers and specifically designer portfolios. And this is his most recent venture. It is basically like a bookmarking tool, a way to collect things from the internet. Think Pinterest or something like that, but very much with the idea that you can collect pretty much anything and have it. It will auto tag. So there's some AI smarts in there that will auto tag the items, and then the search is really quick, so you can find stuff really quickly. I've been using it for a while, and I really enjoy it. It's a great way to especially collect like design inspiration, whether it's just general stuff or like project-based stuff. I've put both in my mind, and the thing that one of the things I like about it the most is that the search is like really fast and the auto tagging is really quite good, and I've been surprised at how I can upload something, not add any tags myself, and type something that's pretty abstract, and it will pull it up for me. So I like that kind of auto tagging. You can add your own tags if you want. So sometimes if it's project based, I'll add like the project name or something so I can pull everything up. But it's really just like the only navigation is really just scrolling or searching, but it keeps it simple. And it's really quite nice, and it's very new. So I have a feeling they're gonna be adding a lot to it in the future. They already recently released an iPhone app, so it's pretty cool.
So
Very cool.
John's recommendation.
Yeah. So my recommendation is
Oh, these are cool.
It's more inspiration, I guess, in a way. But there's a
I love Matt
designer
Stevens.
that I followed him for years, and I love his design style, his art style. So Matt Stevens lives in Charlotte. He's a designer there. He's done a lot of stuff with the Panthers, I believe. I have one of his posters actually back here.
I have one. I was trying to get it off my wall, but I couldn't get it off.
Yeah.
I have one of them hanging above my computer.
So the poster I have back there is called Batman's Junk Drawer. So it's just an illustration of maybe, just what would Batman have in his junk drawer. Anyways, this one here is a set of art prints you can buy of his. And he did a whole series of what he calls good movies as old books. So there are all these movies, and he designed them posters basically as book covers. So there's tons. There's Mad Max, Fury Road, A New Hope, Back to the Future. There's tons. And I believe he has all of them you could buy individually. And I think there is another page, a poster where you could get a whole bunch of them on one poster. Yeah, just something
so cool.
I thought was really cool. And there's just so much inspiration from these. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Just looking at these just from on the design side would be super cool.
And there's so many. It had to take him a long time. But they're really well done. So check him out, Matt Stevens. I believe his website, we'll post it, but it's hellomattstevens.com.
Sweet.
Yep.
That's all we got.
Oh,
I was waiting for John. John had another thing, so I was waiting for him.
Oh,
did I have another thing?
Adobe Max.
That's right, I did. Adobe Max. Free. It is free. So Adobe Max started today, actually. I know we won't have this up tomorrow, but what's really cool about Adobe Max, I've gone in person a few times, and one really neat thing they do is they post all of their sessions on their website, so you can go back and watch them for free. So it's very unique, because every other design conference I've been to, you either have to pay a ton of money just to rewatch stuff, and sometimes you can't even get access because the speaker won't allow them to be re-shown. And sometimes that happens with Adobe Max, but this year it's all virtual. This conference is totally free. So all their sessions will be on their site eventually live. But I think you just have to have a Adobe account, Creative Cloud account. So
cool.
Check that out. Some great stuff on there. So that's all I have.
Sweet. That about wraps it up. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening to our third episode.
I think we should force Tori to do the intro and outro every time, because it's the most laid back.
I like doing something different. You gotta keep it different.
We're done.
That's
it's over.
About it. Wraps it up.
I think we're gonna cut the video right now. Yeah, good. So now this is the post show. That was the was the outro. Yeah. The video the music just played, and now we have our. I don't have anything specific for. Was there anything else that you've seen cool recently or anything?
I don't know.
I can't hang on for too long today.
I thought we were talking about this for hours and hours.
I'll say Matt Stevens has some other posters, Batman posters he just came out with. They're very cool.
I have seen them. Yeah, those are sweet. Yeah, I love cool. Matt Stevens.
Where are they?
If you go to his store at the top,
just go to store
on the navigation, and then just scroll down slightly.
Oh, the Batman prints.
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty cool.
One thing he does that I have always thought about doing and have not done is do a series just for fun on the side, because I'm assuming that's what he's doing most of this for, is just for his own enjoyment. And to just try it out.
Yeah.
But he does a lot of these series. The one he did was the Air Max. He has a whole book. The tennis shoe, if you scroll down just slightly.
Oh, these.
Yeah.
That's
There's a
cool.
whole book he made, he printed of each one of those.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And those are cool designs too.
It'd be good for exploration of styles too, because it looks like he just does so many different ones for that specifically. But that was years ago. I feel like he was doing those 10 years ago.
There's another drawer. Who's that for?
That is Walter White's.
Oh, nice.
Breaking Bad.
And I believe there was, I forget the other one in the series. I think there was, I don't remember now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well,
so that's all. I mean,
that may be it today.
Yeah. Work's been busy lately.
It's been busy for me too.
Yeah.
Been checking out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we have it's the kind of thing where I had one project that I was working on, and then now there's 6. And there was no in between stage. It was okay, good. I'm working on because I was working on some improvements to the way you choose locations in our permitting, for the software that we make at OpenGov, and then it was these 5 other features, and then we have very aggressive goals of when we want to ship them, so that we probably won't actually ship them all that soon. But it's okay, well, I'll start working on those too. But it's been really cool. I've been starting to build up my direct customer contacts, because we can it's okay for us to talk directly to customers. And today we were on one call, and the one guy was like, I want to meet with you again. I want to go through all these scenarios and see how these designs fit into all the scenarios. And I was like, yeah, sounds good to me, because some people
awesome.
Don't have the time or the willingness to do this, and this guy's who wants to literally go through all of their permitting scenarios with me. So that was super cool today.
That's really cool. Yeah, I've had my work's been, in general, mine is where we have our basic workflow stuff, where our intake, where people in marketing, at least, we have our own projects. So we have all these emails that need to get done. So all that's in our project management system. And then we have all the other stuff where people just message me directly. I have to put it in myself. And so
of course
it's gotten very busy with a lot of that, the extra stuff that's been more busy. And I have to put it in to make sure it's in there.
I'm surprised you guys that's been going on for a while, it seems like, and I'm surprised you guys don't crack down more on that and make more of a process for that kind of flow into the team.
Yeah, and it's not the design team's thing. We request, it's just one of those things with companies where budgets get cut or they change priorities, and then
and depending on who's asking, sometimes you can't say no. So
yep, exactly. That was some of the stuff today, was just things where it was requests from up high. Yeah, which is fine.
It's due today. Okay, I'll go get done that.
What are we looking at here?
Who's buying an iPhone 12?
I'm gonna get an iPhone 12 Pro Max.
I still have my iPhone 8.
Yeah. I don't feel the need to upgrade anymore, because none of the upgrades are really all that essential for me. I think they're super. I think everything's super cool, but it's not, the cost benefit for me is if my phone breaks, I will probably just buy the latest one, or maybe the previous gen now, because I actually thought the 11s were pretty nice. So now I could get an 11 refurb for pretty cheap probably once these come out. But it's just it's so hefty. It
is.
Now I am very happy that they're launching the mini, even though it's not all that mini.
I haven't even checked out what's coming out with it.
Yeah,
But for me, for John Eckert and I have had many conversations about these things. But for me, I my phone works. It's not slow. I haven't had no issues with it.
But I thought
I'm like,
Apple
well, why would I buy a
intentionally
new one?
slowed down phones to get you to buy a new
Well,
one. I'm just
maybe
kidding.
mine just got
they
mine got
will
some-
eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah, I will too. And that's what happened with the one I have now is
Yeah.
I had a 6 and then had to switch to a different carrier and just went ahead and got a new one.
I'd love to have the newest all the time, I guess, but man,
It's not necessary. I do it because because it's something that I just like and care
Yeah.
about a lot and I'm interested in. So I'm on the Apple
yeah, the
upgrade program,
program.
which
Yeah.
basically is like it's a 2-year lease,
Yeah, you're
but they
leasing.
let you trade in your phone and get the new one every 12 months.
Yep.
So it's basically just a set monthly fee that I just like budget in. Like that's what it is. Is it wasting money? Probably, but it's just something that like to me is important.
Well, you like
and,
it,
like
yeah.
I prioritize it.
Yeah.
And so I may eventually not do it. Like at any time you can just not upgrade and pay off the last 12 months of your phone and then own it forever. So if I wanted to do that, I could do that at any point. I like the freedom of being able to do that, and it's worth the cost for me.
Well, it's
but it
pretty
definitely
similar to
isn't
me
for everyone.
upgrading my desktop every 2.5 to 3 years because it's
Sure.
like I think it's fun and I like some of the new stuff and
Yeah.
it's like, hey, that feels worth it to me for whatever
Right.
reason, even though it's not necessarily if you're talking about it like from a purely monetary standpoint. I mean, it's the same thing. Like my cars are getting to 100,000 miles, and I'm like, I should get a new car. But that's not necessarily the best financial decision for me.
I'm rocking one with like 200.
I know, but I don't.
So.
And it's really more just I like cars, so I want to drive something else.
Yeah.
But
everybody likes certain things,
I know. And for everyone listening, John Eckert is the definition of an early adopter.
Yep.
For a lot of things, which is I'm not making fun of him. That's just
no.
If you can get John on your side for a product, he'll be your evangelist. Like he was today for both Hey and My Mind.
My wife literally hates the fact she's such a good sport because I will swap like music streaming services and TV streaming services and stuff that like she wouldn't have to swap with me, but it's like usually cheaper to have the family plan, and she doesn't care enough to like say like, no, I'm keeping Spotify, but like so I feel bad for her, but I can't help myself. But like there will be a big update to like Apple Music or Spotify, and I'll switch from one to the other. And because it's streaming, like I kind of keep up with both with like some playlists and stuff, just because I guess because I know it's gonna happen.
You must have so much more time than I have.
It's not hard. I don't like keeping up with it. Is not hard. I have
know.
one like playlist that is like basically just all the songs I listen to, and I maybe add like 10 songs a year to it. It's really not. And then I take like maybe 10 more off. Like it's not a lot, but and I don't think she does. Like she's the same. She doesn't do a lot of custom stuff, so it's not, the Switch is not that difficult. But also like TV streaming services, it's the same thing. Like there's not like that much effort for us. Like we have a few shows that we like save or in our library or whatever that streaming service of the week calls it, but like the transition is pretty simple, and it's something I enjoy doing. Like I enjoy interacting with the UI, learning about the UI. Like that's what it really all comes down to is like I get excited about features or UI updates, and in order for me to like dive in and understand it and get it and like know what works and what doesn't, I have to use it as a real user. And I don't want to like, the one thing I don't want to do is have like 5 streaming services of all of these different things going at one time. Like at least I try to do it so it's like one at a time. But
and it's been good for me too in a way, because I can ask you about like recently I switched to Hulu TV, and you gave me a good opposing view of YouTube TV and Hulu TV. So I will say the only thing I don't like about Hulu TV is the sorting. You can't sort by, it's all sorted alphabetically, all your channels. So
like the channel list.
the channel list, you don't have a way of actually rearranging it yourself, or you can't put your local channels first, which is fairly standard with every other cable or streaming service I've ever used. And there's like 800 people or something on their user request that has requested that, like, let you either manually rearrange your channels that the lineup you want, or put the local ones at the very beginning of your list. Anyways,
So I will say I have tried almost all of them for the sole purpose of that college games for the ACC teams we watch are only available on the freaking ACC network.
yeah,
And
that's why I have it too.
and it's also really unclear, like, which games are going to be on ACC network. Sometimes they're just on ESPN. And then, okay, the most roundabout way, we wanted to watch, this is the most difficult thing to ever watch, is it was the women's pit volleyball game. And the way I had to do it was, okay, Hulu technically has the channel. So I got a Hulu trial because I had an email address that I could get a Hulu trial, Hulu TV. I got to it. Nowhere to be found
Blacked
is
out.
ACC network. Nowhere.
Oh, really?
Huh.
Not anywhere. So then I looked into it some more. I got an ESPN Plus subscription because they said they had ACC network. No, Okay, but then once I signed in with my Hulu TV subscription on ESPN Plus, then I could get to the ACC network games, but
From
not
which platform though?
through Hulu.
ESPN Plus. Oh,
Oh.
really?
No. On ESPN Plus's UI
By
through
logging
my
in.
Hulu
Okay.
login, because Hulu
Gotcha.
evidently has that contract, but I couldn't get to it in Hulu. And I was like, what? How do we get to this point? Like, how is this at all something that we should get to? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, the fact
Well,
that
it's funny.
I can't just watch my games. They're not even.
It's funny because, like, people hated the old cable
Mhm.
bundles and stuff, and I think like where we're at with streaming is still much better, but streaming services have become sort of that big bundle, super expensive, like, because they're still at the behest of the content makers and the people that own the channels, and they want their money, and they're like even more so than ever, like, fearful for their future, and they're like, so they're not gonna like let go of that value that they hold. And so, like, we've run into the same thing where Hulu and YouTube TV and, well, PS Vue is no longer, but like their prices keep rising, and now they're in the range of like
Oh,
a
yeah.
cable package. But the nice thing is, and the difference is, like, stream it anywhere, super easy to switch, no contracts. So there's still value, but it is annoying.
Have you ever watched Honest Trailers at all on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They just did one about streaming services. That was
yeah.
really hilarious.
That's
So go watch that if you haven't.
I never
I've
noticed
actually
the
got to
Hulu
run.
thing, John. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys
Sorry.
can keep talking, and I'll just, leave this running if you want to.
I was just gonna say I'd never noticed the Hulu, like, not being able to custom sort. And I think it's because of the fact that they do the, like, recent ordering. And so, like, we'll just have sort of in that top 10, like, the channels that we generally go to. So it's never been a huge deal for me, but I can totally see the value.
It hasn't been a huge deal. It was mainly when I first got on, and I was like, where are all the channels? Like, I like, what? How is this sorted? And then I realized it's sorted by network name alphabetically.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Because you expect the local channel to be at the
ABC.
beginning, right?
Yeah. Well, there's like, what was one of the first ones? Wasn't even ABC. It was like another small channel that you don't use. It's one of those ones like way up there you never actually watch. I'm like, this is the most. It was very. They didn't think about the user, I feel like, and that I would think that's an easy. I'm not a developer, but is that an easy thing to change? Because I would think that's not that hard to sort.
Not hard.
Or let your customers sort the way they want to sort it.
I mean, it may be hard for them, but it shouldn't be.
Well, they already have the concept of like filtering and reordering in there, because you can filter by news and sports and family or whatever. So, and recent, like that, they're just tabs along the top. So the way that YouTube TV does it, like, they have a default, but then they have like a custom option, and whatever your custom option is just however you ordered your list. and it sticks with that. So
Yeah.
um,
The things I didn't like about YouTube TV, things you mentioned, I think, but the price for one,
yeah,
it's more expensive. And so far, Hulu has like everything I needed. There's nothing that I didn't
Hulu's
get.
UI is way better too.
Oh yeah, it's so
I
much more
think.
simple.
Yeah.
YouTube, I hate that you get on it and it looks like you're on YouTube. The home
Yes.
screen is just like full of videos that you're not trying to watch. It looks like
Material
you're on YouTube.
design is so
Yeah.
bad. I hate it.
It's terrible.
I
So
hate
then you have to, and then the figuring out. Sometimes you can't get back. At least I use a Roku TV,
Mm.
so trying to get back from like previewing a channel back to your list was not intuitive at all. There was no way
Yeah.
to get back there. And I had to like go show Colleen one time where something was, because how to get to the live TV channels, because it was in a transparent box at the top,
At the top,
the
yeah.
live and home.
I hate
And I was
that.
like,
Yeah.
why is it? You
I
could
hate that.
hardly see it. Just
Yeah.
take me live TV first. Anyways, it's my
Well,
UI rant today.
Oh yeah, so
we can
much.
talk more about that stuff in a future
Yeah, we
episode,
could.
maybe.
Yeah.
Could
I
hit.
have a
I
lot to
stopped
say,
recording. So
Okay, we'll see you both
see you later.
later.
Yeah.
It's good.